Happy Wednesday, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to the live stream.
Hola. What's happening, people?
We got the Novella boys in the house.
Hello, hello, hello.
Starting off strong in the chat.
Got anything to say?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So do the date thing, disembodied voice.
Sorry. Before we get too deep into it, that we haven't started with a cold open, or actually, hold on, I got to do this. What day is it? What day
Wednesday.
is it? What
Day time is it?
The second.
It is Wednesday, April's the 2nd, and today we're going to talk about latest designer trends. Oh wait, these are from yesterday because of April Fools. Okay. I was trying to do a quick April Fools joke. Vaccines are bad now.
Vaccines are now bad.
And then, there was another one. It's supposed to say skeptics are actually anti-science. Bros being bro. Okay. We're not doing any of those things. What we're actually doing are these. Hopefully they'll come through.
I'm noticing something's missing from our list.
Yeah, WIB. In memoriam, earthquakes, pyramids, visualization versus real, will it bread?
Oh, Christ, I was getting worried.
And TikToks.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, don't worry, we got it. Okay. And yeah, everybody, I made the title. Obviously, it was an April Fool's joke. I said yesterday was the end of the SGU, but it wasn't because I'm lying. Happy birthday to whoever's birthday it is in the chat.
Somebody has a birthday today and have a good one.
Probably a lot
Moving
of people.
on to interesting things.
Okay.
Do you guys still do anything on April Fools? I just.
Yeah, we played some pranks with the family.
Is it much louder? Okay, I'll turn me down.
My son Dylan took my wife's phone without her knowing it.
Oh boy!
And then he put an image of a cracked screen on her phone.
Oh yeah, that's.
And then you hear this noise from the other room, and he goes, "What? Oh
Thanks,
man, Mom! Oh boy, Mom! I'm so sorry. Don't be mad at me." Right? He starts doing that.
You did a good job.
But then, like she's like, "What? What happened?" And then I hear him go, "Mom!" And he goes, like he's like laughing, but he couldn't hold it in.
Couldn't do it.
So then she immediately figured it out. Oh God, it's so funny.
You should have just let her find the phone with the cracked screen.
And then she, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, he wanted instant gratification.
Yeah.
Then he wanted me to drive him at the store at 7 p.m. last night to get Oreo cookies so he can scrape out the filling and put toothpaste in there and give them to his sister.
That's awesome.
Oh, jeez.
That's awesome.
So I was telling him no because he did that to her last year, and she's still mad at him about it.
Oh my! What? How far did she get?
Pretty damn far.
Blah, 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 blah.
Because the first flavor you get is the cookie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Oh,
your
yeah, you're
teeth
chewing.
breaks that.
You're
Yeah,
well into
she
chewing.
she was chewing on it, and then she was
Yeah.
like, "What? What?" She freaked out.
It's minty
Yeah.
chocolate, right? Is my mic not as loud now?
That's
maybe?
good.
Okay, I turned it down a little
Yes,
bit.
Thank you.
Anyway, so let's get on to some of the topics that we have lined up. You guys here?
Batman died.
That's exactly what I was going through.
Yeah.
Val Kilmer passed away. Let me pull up his.
That's sad. He's
page.
only a little bit older than we are.
He wasn't. Yeah, he's
65.
65. Not very old at
That's
all.
young.
Pretty young.
But he was sick.
He had throat
Yeah.
cancer apparently.
Yeah.
And then pneumonia, I
But
think.
did-
was
did
he
he
died of
not-
pneumonia specifically.
Well, that's one of the
that's
things
the
that
thing.
gets most people in the end. is
Yeah.
pneumonia.
What did he have throat cancer and not get it handled
So
correctly?
that's what I was going to go through. So do a little Speaker of the Dead if you guys have ever read that Orson Scott Card, even though Orson Scott Card is kind of a ding dong. But
Speaker of the
that
Dead.
book, The Speaker of the Dead, can't defame the dead. So we'll talk about some of maybe his less than interesting ideas behind it. But he was a Christian Scientist. But before we go to that, let's look into some
I'm
of these
sitting
pictures.
just like he is.
Yeah, that's right. You got the same face.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Funny.
But I mean, kind of a heartthrob. I mean, definitely a
yeah,
heartthrob.
definitely.
I mean,
He's
like, look at that. It's
very
like
good-looking guy.
Very good looking dude. Like, definitely seemed like a sweet guy. That was Maverick. Was that Maverick?
Yeah.
Yeah, Iceman.
Iceman. Sorry, yeah. Maverick was what's his face? Robert Downey Jr. Doing a little smoochy poo. That's pretty fun. Let's see some of the. That's when he was much younger, probably
Very young.
teens,
Yeah.
maybe. the blue steel kind of look. Was that young?
Weird Science.
was
Yeah,
it-
no, not weird.
No,
No.
Young Genius. Real Genius.
Real
Real
Genius.
genius. Yeah, he was crazy in that. That's a fun
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah,
fun
that's a good
but
movie.
he was something else.
Him with 50 Cent, Angelina Jolie, and the like. Cher.
He
right?
dated Cher.
Yeah. Look at that haircut. That's
Whoa,
very
dude.
Sting-esque haircut or
Wow.
something. You
It's
know?
very 80s.
Very 80s. There we go. Now we're doing the Batman that
So
time forgot.
He hated making that movie.
Did he?
Did he?
I
Yeah,
didn't hear that.
because he described it like
We're
they
just kidding,
they
Mike.
put me in the suit. They had to help me stand up.
Mm.
Then they had to kind of help him maneuver himself to be in the. He said basically you're in the suit and you can't really feel and see what's going on.
Mhm.
Even seeing?
Yeah, because your eyes are still like, the mask is
Yeah.
visible in your eye line, so you have your peripheral vision is shot. And he couldn't. He said basically his memory of shooting that movie was people moving him around and positioning him in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Wow,
So
that's
he
pathetic.
didn't like it. He said it was very hard to act through that suit
Do you know where he was when he found out he got the role?
in a bat cave.
In a bat cave.
That's pretty
Literally
funny.
a real bat cave, which is
Mhm.
epic.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Michael Keaton is still pretty.
He didn't
excellent.
want to make this movie.
Oh, really?
Really?
The script
Maverick?
The script did nothing for him, but he was contractually bound to do it. But then
Tombstone. Yeah, somebody was saying Tombstone.
Tombstone might have been his best role.
Yes.
Oh, might have. I mean,
Hits.
Doc Holliday by far was.
But also the
was
Van
the
Morrison
Van
one.
Morrison.
Yeah, he was a solid actor, man. Look at some of these movies.
Very
but,
stylized for Van Morrison. I mean, let's
Doc
see.
Holiday
Here we
though
go.
was my
There's Tombstone, right?
favorite.
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
He
That
was
might- I
just.
think
I
so,
wanted to see a whole movie just with him playing that role.
Everything that he did on camera, you didn't look at anything else on. That was it. Like he was the number one thing happening when he was in that movie. God damn, he was so good.
Yeah, he was excellent.
So when he at the end of that movie,
Nicolas Cage, let's go.
spoilers,
goat.
but at the end of that movie when he was dying of consumption,
Consumption.
he actually
basically
under the
tuberculosis.
blanket he put packs of ice under there
Yeah, we talked Real Genius.
because he wanted to make it.
He was shivering.
Yeah, he wanted to like kind of like simulate like what it would feel like to be dying in those conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Which he was a method actor, so it's no question
yeah.
that he. And then there's reports of him being hard to act with.
Oh, Top Secret. That was such
Yes.
a fun
Oh,
movie.
God,
my
yeah,
I
God.
loved that.
I remember seeing that.
Any of those like that, and well, anyway. So yeah, that's. He did get chemo, despite being a Christian Scientist. We mentioned like he was a Christian Scientist a little bit, and they notoriously don't like certain interventions.
Well, all
you
right,
know.
good for him.
But there was one maybe negative aspect of what he promoted was the Equitable Access to Care Health Act, which was
bad.
bad. Additional religious exemptions, for Obamacare or like the ACA, So
Yeah, we wrote about that in Science-Based Medicine. I think David Gorski wrote about that. That's basically just an excuse for quacks to do their quacking. you
Yeah,
know,
unfortunately.
but framed as freedom, like healthcare freedom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But,
Terrible.
you know, other than that, seemed like a pretty decent guy. You know, who knows?
Definitely.
Who knows? To,
Other than being
He
poisoned
had a
by
great, he had a
religion.
really
Yeah,
good career.
unfortunately.
He was wicked talented. He was largely thought of as a great person, and, a good guy. He was, I was saying before, like some
A lot of
people,
movies.
a lot of people would say he was hard to work with.
Mm.
A lot.
But,
A lot.
Well, meaning like he
He's
he
a
was the
famous
kind of
writer.
actor where he wanted to have a very deep dialogue with the director, and when he was faced with directors who basically just said, just do it, like literally, like the guy that directed Batman was like, you're Batman, be Batman, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he wants to be like, what's the
Acting.
motivation, what's happening in this scene, what, moment to moment.
Yeah.
Because, when good actors are listening to the other actors and they're living in the fake world that is being created,
Yeah.
and they live in that moment, right? And, when you have a director that doesn't want to talk, some actors can handle it fine. He doesn't like that. So, yeah, he was complicated and hard to work with if you were, in my opinion, a very shitty director. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Well then, all right.
When he was making the Island of Dr. Moreau with,
Yep.
you know who he is. Stella!
No.
De Niro?
Yes. No. The Marlon Brando.
Marlon
Brando,
Brando.
the other
Brando.
one.
So it was a very bad movie to be on because there was lots of screw ups and delays.
Which movie
and
was this?
The Island of Dr.
Did it
Moreau.
ever
Oh,
even
yeah.
come out?
Yeah, it did.
It
I
did.
saw
Oh
it.
yeah, I
But it's
saw
like-
that movie when it came out. I saw it in the theater.
So what happened
It's really,
was
horrible.
the two of them ended up commiserating with each other on the set, and Brando ended up telling Val Kilmer, he's like, hey, yeah, this sucks, I know, but just look at it as a paycheck. We're just getting paid good money to be here. We don't want to be here, but it's money. You know what I mean? Which I guess you always, if you're making a good paycheck doing
Yeah.
something like that, at least you could fall back on that. And I really liked Val. I thought he was fantastic in pretty much everything I've ever seen him in. He was definitely committed to all of his roles, and he really did a good job. He's the kind of guy where his charisma to me was very infectious. Just can't take my eyes off him.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. So a lot of people sad about that.
No mention of Willow.
No.
Oh,
Willow was good.
Willow.
He did a great job in Willow.
Crap.
Such
Bad
a good movie.
Bad Mardigan.
I know they named the movie.
That was a good role.
They named the movie Willow, but they should have named it Mad Mardigan because
Bad
it was
Mardigan.
it was about him. Was it bad?
Bad
I thought it
Mardigan.
was
Bad
Mad
Mardigan.
Mardigan. He was good. He was really good, and I think we saw that twice when it came
And
out.
what's his name? Warwick Davis, right?
Yeah,
Isn't
yeah.
that- He's awesome. He's a funny guy. All right. Well, so we got a couple emails in, but let's look at this one. Somebody sent us a picture of the book
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh,
from
Vietnam.
Vietnam.
That was great.
That's
In
pretty
Nam.
good. In Nam.
In
So-
the wild.
and
That's
in
right.
English.
And in English, that's true. So
I
if
think is
you guys
interesting.
are out there in the wild, send us in. We'll try to keep track of like where in the world is the SGU book or any of them.
Either the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe or the Skeptic's Guide to the Future.
or the translated ones too.
Yeah.
You'll
So,
see it.
so what company is our book keeping? Let's see. One references Pixar, so that's good.
cool.
The other one is When Things Don't Go Your Way. Don't know what that's about. And then what's the one
Story
in
of art.
the upper right there? Mission what? Mission something.
It's like a space thing.
yeah. So I think it's
All right.
good company.
Yeah.
Seems good company. At least it's not the dollar
The dollar
book
bin.
The dollar bin.
So somebody in the chat says it is Mad Mardigan.
Is it Mad Mardigan? All right. Haven't seen it in decades.
Yeah. Wasn't there a show that came out, like a new one?
Yeah, there was a Willow series.
Series, right? Like
Yeah.
it just came out. Yeah,
was
something
alright.
like
But
that.
didn't
It was all right.
didn't last. I mean, I don't think it
Aight.
got past what?
Aight.
I mean,
Aight.
one season at most.
Yeah, it was one season.
I don't think we've had any unauthorized translations. I mean, there was definitely, I have Google search terms that get
Cool word.
emailed to me when they come up, and I found many
Don't freak me out like that.
many
Sorry.
instances where
Joke.
people were looking for a PDF of the book
Mm.
and actually passing around a PDF of the book. But this is just, it just happens with every single thing that's published.
Yeah. Anyway, so here's one that might be a fun little visual trickery.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Look at this spiral, right?
It's not a
Is that
spiral.
are you sure? How could it not be a spiral? Let me just trace
Follow it. Just
it.
follow
This-
them.
Yeah.
You'll stay in the same.
Oh, that is a pretty effective optical
Yeah.
illusion.
Yeah, so
That's
this
I think it's
one-
fantastic. So the reason why it looks
Whoa.
like it's a spiral is the black part of it.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
the black and white thing.
Mhm.
Because they get smaller as they get more to the center. But I mean, yeah, if you, on a quick glance and a quick glance away, if you told someone, "I'll give you $1,000 if you tell me if those were spirals or not," who wouldn't say spirals? I mean, it looks like a spiral in every which way I look at it.
Because you can't see a whole circle all at once. The middle one you can. Right? You could see the middle circle all at once.
It's-
But the other ones your eye is kind of following the
Yeah.
spiral pathway.
And I see
in.
movement in the center. If you close one eye, you can make it out a little bit better.
Yeah, if you kind of unfocus your eyes, I could have one in the midground kind of
Yeah.
pop as a
Yeah,
circle,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's not easy.
Let me
Yeah,
see
you
if I
gotta
can
unfocus.
force us to. Whoop, what
Whoa.
happened? Where did I go?
What
I
is
went
this,
to
the
I
opening
went
to
the-
007?
Yeah, I went to
The sun, it's the sun.
I
Where
went
the
to the
sun
wrong
spots.
screen. Get back there. Get back to the screen share. Oh, there it is. But that's not entirely.
It's pretty
screen
remarkable
share.
when
Remarkable.
you're
Remarkable.
you're looking at something and you're fully conscious of the limitations of your senses. Like all these optical illusions. This one in particular. Like we show a lot of optical illusions during our extravaganza show. This is one of those optical illusions
see
where
if I
I'm
can
like,
Force
it's
it
troubling
be-
to see how wrong you are.
See if I can force
Yeah,
you
there
to
you go.
see it. There you go.
Yeah.
Now you can kind of see it's a circle.
Yep.
If I block out all the other nonsense. You
Yeah, that works.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pretty cool though. And then take it away. Ah,
Oh, my
spiral.
God, I'm falling.
Spiral. Okay. Anyway, that was a fun little one that somebody sent us. Or Jay, did you find that? I think you found
Yeah, I
that.
emailed you that one.
Yeah.
We could go from that to talking about the brain.
Ooh,
Make sure we-
visualization.
the
Good
visualization
idea.
one.
Mhm. So this was a video. Somebody tagged us in. It is the Epenable, whatever the word is. Theo Vaughn, in his podcast studio, talking to, I forget who he's talking to, what her name is.
Who is this guy?
Theo Vaughn is a famous comedian. Kind of, he like intentionally plays kind of the dummy, but also kind of is a little.
Mhm.
It's just he amplifies his shtick, but with Dr. Tara Swart. So I forget, but I think she's a neurologist, but we'll look up a little more about her in a second. But let's just see what they have to say about the brain. Here we go.
Brain. Come on, brain.
Oop.
Wow, so your brain doesn't really know the difference between, say that again?
Between something that happened in real life or something that you strongly visualize.
So you could create enough of a visualization for yourself if you really were to powerfully start to focus on it and do that and build that ability to visualize something that your brain at one point would have to think it's so true that the world would meet you and put it into your life.
I love the way you put that.
Wow.
So he was right up until the last thing that he said when he makes this massive leap to, and then the world's going to put it's going to put it into reality. It's like no.
This isn't like thinking about finding $1 million. This in practice, like there's a story about a Olympic skier
Yeah.
who got into an accident while skiing and had to miss a season. And what the skier did while they were recuperating was visualize themselves doing the things that they already knew how
Yeah.
to do, but just keeping those neurons active and alive, even though that she wasn't doing it physically. She was visualizing it, and apparently it works.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Steve. Can you develop a new skill by visualization?
Not fully, because you won't be engaging your muscle memory, your cerebellum, any of the motor system. You might be able to pre-plan moves, right? But you got to have the physical feedback if you're practicing. Right? Maybe you could learn chess that way, but where the physical movements are not important, it's purely intellectual. But what they're really talking about there is more like false memory syndrome. Where if something is suggested enough or if you imagine it enough, then your brain sort of remembers it the same way as a memory of something that really happened. Or another like a component of that is that Like when you visualize something, right? If I tell you to visualize the Mona Lisa,
Yes.
like pretend like you're standing in front of the Mona Lisa and you're looking at it. Go on your memory of what you've probably seen it so many times.
I'm in the
life.
Louvre right now. Gotcha.
Yeah, you could see it. The same part of your brain lights up as if you were actually looking at the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
And of course it does, right? There, you don't have a separate part of the brain to imagine an image than when you're experiencing it. It's the same visual cortex. It's just there's something, right? But when you're actually seeing it in real time, obviously there's other things in the loop that let you know, yeah, this is a real experience, not a memory. But what's the difference between a memory of seeing something and just imagining seeing something?
Well, I mean,
it's the same parts of the brain that are involved, right?
Yeah, it's like for most people, we don't have the ability to visualize things to the degree where we're like in a dream. It's a higher level of visualization, right? Your brain.
Gone, Ian.
Yeah,
But-
Ian, the comments are not visible to us.
But if you're,
Thank you.
there are people who have an unbelievable ability to visualize, all the way down to there
Well,
are
that's
people
the
who can't do it.
aphantasia to hyperaphantasia kind
Yeah.
of spectrum,
Yeah.
but most people are in the middle.
Yeah.
But even like for the typical person, we can imagine things, and when you do so, it's engaging the same part of your brain. But I think so. The other thing is like, how do you know the difference between something you experience and something that you just imagined? Maybe because you were told about it, for example. I think it's mainly due to context, like because you remember other things. Like I know I've never been to the Louvre, right? So I would probably have other associated memories.
Yeah, but if I'm visualizing it right now, I know I'm not there.
I know, but my point is, how do you know you weren't there 2 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 10 years ago?
Well, I have a memory.
Yeah,
but
associated
that's the point. You have
contextual
you're putting it
memories.
into the context of all your other memories because
Yeah.
you know you would never went there. But let's say like there was that famous experiment now where they told people, do you remember taking a balloon ride when you were 10 years old? And
And some people would actually start to believe they did.
they actually like showed them Photoshop pictures of themselves in a balloon.
Yeah.
And had whatever, and then some people actually remembered taking a balloon ride. They never took a balloon ride. It was
Well, I'll
a
give you-
completely fabricated memory.
I'll give you a more.
So again, they were just
example.
encouraged to imagine it, and it was long enough ago where you don't have the other memory cues
Yeah.
to know did that happen or not happen.
But you also like, for example, we've traveled so much and done shows in so many different parts of the world. But like, take the United States for example.
Mhm.
Like, if you said, "Hey, do you remember when we did the show in Washington?"
Yeah.
And I'd be like, "We never went to Washington." And then you were like, "Jay, yes, we did." You might actually be able to convince me that we did.
Oh, yeah.
because there's
We
so
did go to Washington.
Well, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Washington D.C. or Washington State?
Washington State.
Oh no, I don't
Yeah.
think so.
no.
No, we've been to Washington many
Wait.
times.
Wait,
Seattle.
We've been to
COVID.
Seattle.
COVID,
Yeah,
right
okay.
before
Before
COVID.
Yeah,
you
blew
get
up.
my
we
point,
have been
Ross.
to Washington State.
It would be very easy to convince
We were
someone
in Seattle,
that has a
Oregon.
very, has a big history of doing something. Hey, did you go here or there? And I think that's part of it. Like I could see myself in the, if I had gone to the Louvre 30 years ago,
Mhm.
I might not fully remember that I was actually there. Like things can get so
Muddled.
diluted.
Or we could,
muddled.
we remember we went to Italy when we were teenagers.
Yeah.
84.
And I could remember when we went to this place in Rome that
Yeah.
we've never been
I would
to.
never-
but I
yeah.
could convince
Absolutely.
you that we
Oh,
went
yeah.
That's a
there.
better
Such an
example.
old memory for sure.
Yeah, that even though we didn't, and piecing it together with memories of like pictures that you've seen of it. Like remember when we were in the Coliseum? Let's say we didn't go to the Coliseum. Remember we went to the Coliseum, we were inside the Coliseum, blah blah blah. You could have a fake memory of that
Hell yeah.
happening.
So when you have someone like Steve in your life, guys, and Steve says, "We went to this place and we did this thing and this happened," if you have like an average memory like I do, you will begin to use Steve's memory to augment
So I can
your-
create false memories
yeah,
of you at will. is
but
what
you
you're
could
saying.
easily manipulate me because I trust you. But the point is, like, yeah, I mean, you have someone with a fantastic memory. I will be like, "Oh, we did? Okay, I don't remember
Steve,
that." And it doesn't even bother me.
I remember discussing in the past. We're talking about this, and we were saying something about how important it is to distinguish between a real thing and just a memory or a visualization. And I'm trying to remember the specific angle that you were taking about it. So is it have to related to qualia? Like how can we distinguish something real from fake that we just imagine? And I'm trying to. There was an interesting angle to it.
Well, that was like, how do we know? How does our brain know the difference between something we're experiencing in real time versus something we're remembering?
Right,
right, and that's the qualia kind of thing. But this is a different conversation.
Yeah.
How do you remember something you imagine versus a memory?
Yeah.
right, yeah.
And that's harder because they're both,
Yeah.
not in real time. Do you remember, Bob? You were not that long ago. You were telling the story of when we were in that Italy trip when we were
In
kids,
84, the first time.
and
yeah.
you remembered the tour guide saying, "Remember, lady, look at the
Yes.
pieces of-"
Lady, yeah.
We never experienced that, but you remembered us as experiencing
Yeah.
that. That was just a story that our mother told us about when they were in Italy the previous time, not when we were in Italy with them. You remembered it as happening to us. That was a fake
It
memory.
didn't happen.
It never. We never experienced that.
That's such an old memory. And then she was.
But you just imagined it when she told the story. But
Yeah.
that over the years that became a memory rather than just a story that you heard.
Yeah, I remember
Right?
I guess mom's related to us that story. How
Yeah.
how the tour guide would say, "Hey, lady," and bring my mom to like.
Look at every penis drawn on the ground.
exactly. It's
Yeah.
like very kind of inappropriate.
Yeah,
but,
I remember
well,
that
Italian.
Steve's way, not your way. I
Yeah.
remember Mom telling us that story.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, memory sucks, man.
So before
memory,
we cha-
memory is like totally fluid.
Before we change the subject, so this is kind of related to cognitive behavioral therapy, which is give you an example of cognitive behavioral therapy. So let's say you have an emotional response to a thing, like you're afraid of sharks or whatever. You could train yourself to detune that fear by using cognitive behavioral therapy. Like one technique would be that every time you think about it and you get the fear response, you could try to associate it with something in your mind that you're not afraid of, that might even be pleasant, to kind of detune that.
Go to your safe space.
But also you could tell yourself, I'm not really that afraid of sharks. It's ridiculous. You know what I mean? And
That's the cognitive therapy.
yeah,
part.
that's the cognitive part. And over time, you can change the way your brain works. Like what I do with cognitive behavioral therapy is, if I'm ruminating, I break that cycle. I just tell myself, I'm not going to think about that. I'm going to think about this. And I pivot to something that makes me happy. And you can break this cyclical thinking that you have. Anyway, it's a really good, effective, and absolutely science-based method to help you get out of brain patterns that you've worn in so well that you constantly are doing it. Like rumination is one of the
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
People
So you're
are
saying
just-
basically every time you get anxious, you eat a meatball.
Yeah, I mean,
That
doing
work?
something. Well, it has helped me. I mean, there is a therapy behind meatballs.
It's
Meatball
called
therapy.
meatball therapy.
Meatball therapy. Yeah.
Salek brings up an interesting point here. He says that sometimes I wish I could have a perfect memory. No, you do not want a perfect memory because that would be it would be disabling.
Yeah, it'd be debilitating.
Because you'd be so awash in memories at every reference. Everything would remind you of so many other things. And there's actually some facts behind that. There was some of the most talented mnemonists, people with amazing memories. Some of them are just so overwhelmed with things, reminding them of things that they're kind of like,
They're stuck.
they're kind of stuck. One guy said that he has a very hard time recognizing faces. And now this is a guy that has an amazing, almost, human memory.
Like an idyllic memory.
Eidetic.
Which-
I never get it right.
eidetic memory.
So he's actually confused by faces because he said that different shades of expression confuse him because he sees it, a happy Bob and a sad Bob are two different people, and that's how much he distinguishes them.
But I don't know that that's just a pure memory issue. That's like
prosopagnosia or whatever. it is?
our
Or is that face
brains
blindness?
the visual cortex, is wired to maintain continuity between different versions of the same thing.
Right.
Right? Like if you see a tiger running through a sun-dappled forest, it's constantly morphing and changing its angle and its shape and its shading and whatever, but your brain still sees a tiger the whole time.
Right.
And if you didn't, that's a deficit. That's not
Yeah.
just because your
You'd be
memory is
fucking
so
dead. Let's just say it like it is.
Well, I was reading in science fiction. They handled this in a very interesting way. So this is like super high technology, and people are just like genetically engineered and all that stuff. So when this guy had an amazing memory because he was kind of like a super augmented post-human. But when he was thinking, now you can't remember everything at the same time, right? How do you navigate your memory if it was 1,000,000 times bigger than it is now? How would that even work? So the way the writer solved that problem is really interesting. As you think about something, so if we were thinking about Italy in 1984,
Those memories get called up.
the memories come up, they bubble up from.
I was about to say that
storage.
too. Like I want my memory to be like data, where he goes accessing, right? He doesn't have every bit memory,
Right.
everything in his memory
Call it to you though.
at the front of his brain the whole time, but he can call it up as needed.
Yeah, as you think
Yeah.
about it, all the details
Accessing.
come up. It's such a
I say that's
such a great
sometimes
idea.
what I'm thinking.
So you want some
Accessing.
billionaire to put something in your head so you can recall?
Absolutely. I would get a brain implant. Why not?
Yeah.
I like what Gary said. He says he goes, I forgot everything, but I have an excuse because I'm a creative type and I claim no responsibility for anything. That last part is very important. Just don't claim responsibility for anything, and people will leave you alone.
Yeah.
Wasn't me.
But
Remember that wasn't me.
The bottom line, forgetting is important. You don't want to remember
That's true.
every last thing.
Well, yeah,
It
the
would
way
not be-
evolutionarily, the way our brains solve that problem is that the memories fade, and memories that get reinforced hang around. So the things that are
Right.
useful that it's easy to use it or lose
Yeah.
it kind of thing. So you remember the important things. So yeah, so our brains are evolutionary. Our memories are evolutionarily advantageous. They're not accurate. They're
But-
just they
Yeah.
evolved to be functional.
But you see this in genre and literature and TV all the time. I just finished a book that's very Cthulhu-esque, and in this story, people were being duplicated. So they would cut you. You wear a special pendant. You cut off your finger. You throw it in a tub of seawater, and it would grow a new you. So this new you was,
Do you
90.
get to also regrow your lost finger?
Yes, and your finger would regrow very fast. But if you did it a lot, weird stuff would happen. But the important point was that this duplicate of you would be basically you, but it would have every memory, everything that you've ever experienced. It would know with 100%
How would it
certainty.
know your memories?
So yeah, the conceit is that everything you experienced, you would remember. So, oh yeah, at 3 years old, there was a person at the house that had a red shirt and blue sneakers on. Just everything. That was their ability, their interesting ability. But it falls into that trap of thinking that all the information is there, we just don't have access to it. But no, it was never recorded, or
Yeah.
it just faded and is not
Yeah,
stored.
that's a fallacy.
You
I mean,
can't
actually,
get that.
I actually
Those
took a-
memories aren't there.
I took a course on this, memory, psychology of memory, whatever, in college. And what I remember from that, one of the things I remember from that course is they addressed that very specific issue of, is the inability to call up a memory, is it purely a recall problem, or was it never stored in the first
Right.
place, or has it faded over time? And yeah, so is it an encoding problem, a storage problem, or a recall problem, or is it some combination of all of those
Yeah.
things? And it's some combination of all of those things. It's not purely a recall problem. I thought, like the idea that all the information is there, but you just can't recall it is nonsense.
Yeah, and
But wouldn't it
that's-
be amazing though if you did have the deep, say the cold
Deep
storage
storage,
memory,
yeah.
where if you say, all right, you
Cold
could
harbor?
actually re-experience something from your past. Like you can close your eyes, not just imagine being in Italy.
Well,
You could
that would-
actually be there.
oh,
That's
incredible.
scary.
And you could actually eat to the point where you could maybe even notice details that you didn't consciously notice the previous
Well,
time.
that would be, you'd.
It's really like a recording.
I have a
where
lot
you
of
could
memories that I would
re-experience.
love to live through again. That would be fantastic.
That would be debilitating, though.
Yeah.
Come
If
on.
you could do it.
I'd be sitting in the corner reliving shit most of my day. I mean, that would not
Well,
be.
You have to have a little bit of
That would be productive.
discipline.
That reminds me also of Hannibal Lecter
Yeah.
in one of the books. He creates his memory palace where
Yeah.
he has a huge structure, a mental structure, and he can associate memories to things in that structure, so his recall is enhanced. But in the story, he said at one point that he could go through his memory palace, his mental memory palace, and see details that he never noticed before. And I'm just like, oh man, that's bullshit. It doesn't work that way.
Doesn't work that way.
If you don't encode it,
I mean, it's interesting.
not
It's
gonna
an
be- it's not
interesting
gonna be-
idea.
It
Like-
is,
like the
and
thing-
it's a valid idea. We did that. We took that memory course.
It's
and
it
that
is
works.
it's a mnemonic
That shit
device.
works.
It works. It absolutely works. I got through my medical boards that way. Seriously.
I
thought it
remember studying for a test and using that
Which
method.
is a very effective mnemonic device.
I remembered 88 things. This is a list of 88 things that I could tell you frontwards, backwards, or from the middle. It's really powerful.
out.
I once
Middle
remembered
out.
every president and what year they were elected.
Yeah.
And
it's powerful.
but
Of
I
course
lost
I-
it because I didn't keep refreshing
Yeah,
it. you
right,
know?
right.
It's pretty fantastic, that memory system. It really
For certain
works
kinds
well.
of memory, for certain types of data, it's
Just
it's
organizing your memorizing.
Yeah.
It's just so you have, it then just creates a physical anchor. The other thing is if you use the same location over and over again, then that becomes, you get very good at that mental image. Like mentally walking through your house, for example.
Right.
Right? Something you're super familiar with. So that's the anchor. And then you just assign things like the little
To
Just
mnemonic-
stations
house.
in your
Yeah.
house, and the memory, the data you want to remember interacts with the item in your
Yeah.
house in a dramatic way
Right.
that makes it
Right.
memorable, and it's amazingly powerful.
Yeah.
All right, next item, Ian.
Limitless.
Let's
Tom is
go
right,
through some
limitless.
of these topics. So in memoriam, we did earthquakes. We could do a
Uh-oh.
little
Yeah.
just picture
Are
that.
there
maybe
earthquakes?
get to the. Well, so
Yeah,
there
there
were
was
a
a
couple
horrible
big
earthquake.
earthquakes. Also, Willet bread turn off oven that I forgot to turn off last week. Sorry,
Whoa.
Steve. All right, let's look at
How long
this.
How long was it on?
A long time. My wife got home and like, why is the oven on?
heating the house. So just, trying to. Okay, anyway, here we go. So this was in Myanmar and
Yeah.
Thailand. The earthquake.
Oh,
this is-
yeah.
This is the top of a building. So
Yeah.
I think this gives you an indication, personally, like of what the shaking is, because
And watch what happens to the float.
yeah. So
Oh yeah, it takes a few tries, but it makes it.
I don't think there's actually any audio, so I don't know why I unmuted it. But that guy was like, "Wait, what's happening?"
What's happening?
He
What's
feels it a little bit.
happening?
Yeah, you could
and
see
then
things starting to shake.
Yeah, things are starting to whoa. And what you can, come on, Reddit. Okay, there we go. What you'll also really notice that after you start looking away from the people running away, I'll show you in a second.
Yeah, I would
They're
get out of
running
the
away.
pool.
Now you get out of the pool. It breaks down the glass too, which means that's probably straight over the edge.
What glass?
There was glass over here, like there's like a little glass barrier, and then it broke right there.
Didn't even notice.
Yeah,
that.
it's hard to see. It's a little pixelated. But now look at the background. You can tell now how much that building is
Oh,
moving.
it's crazy. I know. When
Yeah.
I saw that, I
You
was-
see that? That
build them that
really
way, though.
breaks. Yeah, of course. That you want it to flex.
You want them to be brittle, yeah.
Yeah.
The best ones have a super heavy
ball,
like
right?
pendulum
Yes.
that will
Whip.
absorb it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, massive earthquake. I think it said something like 10,000 people
10,000,
might be
yeah.
dead.
10,000?
It's insane.
They got
It's
hit
really
again. They
bad.
had an aftershock.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
a 5.
really-
It was pretty freaking
really
massive.
intense.
P waves first.
Yeah, so but a lot of these videos are interesting because you don't quite see what it feels like, but that one I felt like you can kind of feel
Yeah.
what it might
If
feel
I
like.
was in a heavy duty earthquake and I was up 30 stories, I would be jonesing to get out of that building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's time to go.
I was in a 3.5. That was my strongest earthquake I was in.
What happened? Did you run around screaming?
No. I told you this story.
You were in the bathroom?
I was in the bathroom. I was taking a crap during the earthquake.
Yeah.
And
You're like,
at
I
first,
really had to go.
At first, I'm like, "That's a big truck driving by,"
Yeah.
And then it's like, "That's not a truck driving by." Like everything was shaking, and then the door jam. I couldn't open the door to get out of the bathroom because the door jam had shifted.
So what did you eat?
No, I eventually
It's true.
got
Oh,
out.
you did get out,
Eventually,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah.
No, he's still there. He's still stuck. Okay, anyway, AI videos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
Vaguely
it's,
familiar with that.
AI is imitating art.
Mhm.
Now here's art imitating AI. Let's
imitating
see
art.
how this one, imitating art. Let's see. Think about this.
Oh God, that is
It's really
That's awesome.
good.
That was fun.
holy
Somebody
shit.
sent
How-
us that. I was
how
like, that's
fucked
very
are we,
true.
man?
That is how AI puts things together.
We are so screwed. Holy shit.
Anyway, A lot of other weird things happening in the world. Here's some science, some bro science, as you might
Yeah,
wanna
let's
call
do
it.
it.
Let's do
Science.
So here's running over hands,
Ah.
but on different materials.
Wait. What?
Why would
So here he
anybody
is on
do this?
sand.
Why would you do this?
That's not bad at all, man.
Not bad
It's
at all.
embedded the sand into my skin, but I'm gonna give that probably a 4 out of 10.
It is a little science because it is like the distribution of the weight through the sand. But so let's see how they ramp it up.
Driving overhand with grass.
Of course, like Australians.
Yeah, grass ain't bad either. a little. Probably like a
What's a little?
Driving overhand dirt.
Don't.
Oh, that's not going to be good. Ah! Stupid, man. What the hell?
Man, it's just a peak of pain. Oh, I'm throbbing. Yeah, I'm gonna give that.
Idiot.
So my bones crush.
But at least we got the video of you doing that.
Well, what are you doing?
It's gonna get
Concrete.
hand with concrete.
Oh man, I don't want to see this.
It's gonna squish
Wait,
your
no,
fingers,
they're
dude.
not going to do it. He's going to pull away.
Yeah, it's the worst one yet.
That's the worst one yet. Yeah, I imagine it is.
Goddamn idiot! You idiot!
Not bad.
Your hand is so goddamn important. Why would you fuck with that?
Yeah, he's a left. He's not a lefty.
Over your hand on concrete hurts the most so far. Interesting findings, man. I've never. I still one more time. Okay.
Dumb Australians.
People are so stupid.
This is why we sent them there. We sent them to Australia because we're like, come on, you guys are.
How does this even start? Hey, let's drive over our freaking hands and, and put
Yeah.
it on YouTube. Come on,
It's
guys.
just
Wow,
bros being
man.
bros, man. Doing science right there. Right.
Okay, thanks for that.
All right, sorry. We could go to some more serious things. Okay, let's do a couple more fun ones.
There's nothing more serious than that.
You're right.
All right, what's happening? now?
Superfoods. Yesterday was the 1st of April, so it's important to get your superfoods in.
Welcome to the world of pine cone tapping. This is pine pollen, and it's a superfood. Kind of chalky, a little bit gritty, but
Oh my god.
sometimes you get a little bit of the extra in there.
Pine cones.
I'm really into it. Nature's superfood right from the pines into the mouth. Pine tapping, pine cone tapping. Highly recommend giving it a try.
What?
Well, maybe throw
I mean,
some
but
science our
yeah, there's
way.
zero information. Like, what's
think?
in that
This is a
stuff?
joke. It's a joke.
It's a joke. It was April Fool's. He did it yesterday. It was
Okay.
he's just being a ding dong.
All right, good. Thank you, thank you, Jesus, that was a joke. Because I mean, well, the Onion wouldn't do that because that's actually happening. You know, people are doing crazy shit like
Yeah,
that.
it's not
It is tree
satire
cum.
enough, but
Remember that woman that said don't eat eggs? Fucking eggs.
eggs.
Remember that?
Who?
Sure, I don't
That
know.
was that woman.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, it was this woman with all this makeup on, and she was like saying,
Wait, I remember that too. Is that a false
block it
memory?
out.
Don't eat eggs?
"Yeah,
Why not?
for excuses, just
Yeah. Probably too much protein.
I live
not
on
enough
eggs,
protein.
man.
Is it because the eggs are fake? Is it that thing, or because they're just not good for you? Even
not
real
good
eggs.
for you.
Ah.
Not good
Do you want to watch 4 minutes of the most 80s video you've ever seen?
4 minutes.
Okay.
We're not going to watch 4 minutes. It's just
okay.
it's just a bit because I don't know if you guys have ever seen this video. You must have seen it. Okay.
I've seen
It
it.
looks familiar.
I love this. I love this video so much, and I'll just give you a couple seconds of it.
Oh boy, yeah.
The champions, come on.
She's like up with people.
Yes, very. But the aerobic champions of the world, aerobic athletes of the world. It's like, is this what the 80s were like? I don't know if you guys
We did that every day in the
did that
80s.
everything.
I went to work like that.
The champions. So this is Crystal Light, national aerobic champions. Anyway.
Hey! Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's 4 minutes of that. You can watch that on your own. I'm not going to.
That's good stuff, Ian.
It's
Thank
so
you for
good.
that.
I
I want to
that video
tattoo
so
that on
much.
my face.
I
you
know. We should make sure it's. That is what we are requesting you wear to Nauticon. That's gonna be next year's theme.
Next year we'll do 80s. This year is 60s.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, I would believe it if you told me that the producer of that show found some musician and said, "Write me the worst song you can," and then they used it.
Yeah, the do like over and over.
Like what is happening? Somebody was like, "Yeah," it's like, no.
Are you talking meatballs yet? No, we're not talking meatballs
Sweet
yet. Look at
Christ.
Yodi. We're talking meatballs yet? Yeah, it's a lot. Anyway, so there's some other stuff that we can get to. Do you guys want to look at some pyramids?
Yeah, that the
You
line
know-
one.
Always.
The
Yeah,
line-
you know
latitude.
how the pyramids are set up and it's a global conspiracy? Let's check it out.
One of my
real
best
quick.
friends just went to Egypt.
Oh yeah?
Yes.
Did they go underneath the pyramids
Yes.
to find all the okay?
No.
Crazy fact about the planet.
Crazy
Starting
fact.
at the pyramids
Oh, boy.
in
Here
Giza,
we go.
going across the Sahara Desert, through the Atlantic Ocean, across southern America, through the Pacific Ocean to Easter Island on the most remote opposite side of the planet, all the way back to the pyramids are 21 super ancient sites, all in this same line with remarkable precision to one another. And whoever was building the massive megalithic stonework, like what we find here in Egypt and in Southern America, had the capability to quarry, move, and lift unbelievable large masses of rock above your head, and cut and shape the block with such a level of precision that you can't fit a piece of paper or sometimes a razor blade in between the stone. Many of these sites have remarkable astronomical alignments with the stars in the sky, along with sharing identical architecture, stone cutting, and locking techniques, making many of these walls earthquake-proof, which is why they have lasted as long as they have.
Just repeating, archaeology, revisionist history bullshit. But
But he made the globe, Steve. I mean,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
line.
Did
He's
you
got
see the lines?
Yeah.
And he did
None of
handle
the
the
angles in
globe
between?
deftly.
That's true. He
But
was
that's about it, I
definitely
think.
globing.
so,
He's a deft
there's no
glober.
pyramids on Easter Island, first of all. But he's not even saying pyramids. He's just saying ancient structures. So that's a pretty loose criteria.
How many other
right?
lines can you make
Right.
around the globe?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that line works, but what about all the other stuff that's
Yeah,
not
so
on
if
the
you
list?
if you could choose any ancient, building site, and you get from any time period, right? What is ancient? Is it 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago? That's a huge time period. And so what is the claim that
Yeah.
the same people built the Easter Island heads as built the pyramids of Giza, as built the Aztec pyramids?
Yeah, I mean,
as
he
built
didn't actually make a claim. He didn't say aliens visited us at this time. It's like, but it's all implied.
Yeah, that's right. But so demonstrably this is not true. Like we know these things. First of all, they're not the same. They're not the same construction techniques. They're not the same design, and so there is actually good archaeological reasons to conclude that these are not the same people who built these and not the same technology. And just we've talked about this a lot. I did multiple TikTok videos about the fact that. They always will say, look how the amazing, precision, and there's again implying that there's no way these ancient primitive people could have done this. Like, yeah,
They did it.
they did it. I mean, it's not magical. If you put enough time and effort, you can grind stones, flat. You can to amazing tolerances. It's
As remarkable
nothing
as
magical about it. You don't need advanced technology. You need time and effort.
okay, so we got the
You
pyramid.
need no Netflix.
You look at
Just
the
a bunch of-
no
pyramids, right?
No
Yeah, the
doom scrolling.
pyramids are remarkable. The Herculean effort, all that stuff. But I mean, it's not like, if people back then wanted to build something like that, over time, they would figure out the methods that they would need to do it. They didn't start that project not knowing how to do it.
That
They're-
wasn't out of the blue.
Yeah, that's
That was the end result. And
You could
actual
see
Egyptologists, you could see the evolution of the technology. And as they
exactly
get
failed
more
attempts at
failed
small
attempts,
pyramids.
multiple structures. and
Hello.
that you're looking at the pinnacle, like the end, stage of that technology. And look, how did they do this? Look how amazing it is. Read some actual ancient archaeology.
No.
That's
No, I want my conspiracy because it feels good in my brain. Ian, I don't know, man. I think we got to talk about bread.
Are we there?
Hello?
Yeah, we're basically at the Willet Bread. There's a couple more things. I'm going to go get the bread out of the oven. But you guys can talk about
Well,
this
what are
one.
we going to talk about when you leave?
We're going to talk
We
about
don't know what to
this.
talk about.
Talk
You know
about
what to talk
Ian,
about.
of course.
There's
Duh.
two videos we can talk about.
Okay.
We can talk about this one, or we can talk about. Let's save the
Yeah.
Dr. Mike one for a second.
Let's do this
let's
one.
do this
yeah,
one
this
first.
one's good.
Okay, here we go.
Well, here we go.
Say that like time is not, you know how even scientists say that like time is not linear, and
No.
that's just how we feel like we experience it, but that's not how it actually is. I was thinking about this a lot because when I used to be a preschool teacher years ago, there was one child, one tiny little toddler that I just like I loved. You try not to have favorites, but there was just this one that like, it's like, why am I so connected to this kid? He can barely talk. What is it?
He was cute?
And it's so weird because now that my son is the age to be in preschool, he's exactly like this child. Like, he looks a lot like him. He
What are the
acts a lot
odds?
like him.
Where's she
A
going
lot
with
of the
this?
same interests, a lot of the same, like, idiosyncrasies as him. It's so
No,
weird. And it's
where
like,
she's
did
going-
I know somewhere deep down, like, instead of my child reminding me of this kid from the
There it is,
preschool,
yeah.
maybe when I was teaching at the preschool, that child reminded me of my son that I would have one day. Does that make sense?
No.
No, it doesn't. First off, time.
It's a little arrival.
Yeah, time. Yeah, time isn't linear. I mean, but on the other hand, it is relative, and that's a key thing. So she's got her frame of reference. She will always be plotting ahead 1 second per second, and that's the way it is. But there are scenarios with other people in their own frames of reference where you could have two events, A and B, and one viewer says A came before B, and then the other viewer says B came before A, and the third viewer could say they happened at the same time, and they're all correct. They're all correct.
Right.
But there is no scientific justification for some sort of time travel happening that would connect her future son with her past
You
student.
can't feel the future. You can't reverse the arrow of causation.
Right.
That arrow of causation is absolutely fixed, and that is.
But do you see where people go
Yeah.
when they really don't understand science?
I know they take one little thread that they don't understand, and then they misinterpret it and then misapply.
Yeah.
it.
It's actually kind of the level of ignorance that a lot of people have about science gets dangerous because it produces a lot of misinformation out there. Like, this is a perfect example. You know, people need to have a general understanding of science just enough so the red flag goes off, you know, like, so they wouldn't think about nonsense like that.
Now, this seems benign in and of itself.
Yeah.
But once you open the door for you can predict the future, or the future can
Yeah.
influence current events, there's a lot of pseudoscience rides through that door.
Yeah, but her idea that, like, I knew a kid that has a lot of traits that are similar to my son. You know, that kid I met 4 or 5 years ago, and now I see my son, and, you know, it's like, yeah, okay, well, first of all, why is it weird that two young boys, statistically, there's going to be similarities between them, and some of them will have a lot in common. You know, like, I've met a ton of my son's friends, and there's a couple of them that are like, you know, very much like my son, but whatever, it's just ridiculous.
Well, there's also, I'm sure there's probably some memory issues in there as well.
Yeah.
Oh, sure,
She's
sure.
retroactive. Like, her memories are probably shifting retroactively to fit the narrative.
Yeah.
Like, for example, it's possible that she remembers that kid as looking a lot more like her son than he really does.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yeah.
Or, like, what if
She'd be shocked, I think, if she saw,
Yeah.
you know,
in
you
the
know,
real
that
world,
kid
let's say you go to your
really-
employer and say, I want you to pay me for work that I'm going to do 2 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, that doesn't fly in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can sit there and you know, fantasize about how you think that, you know, time is behaving in a way that has never been observed by science with that type of shit. But you try to pull that off on someone for real, and it's just not going to work.
I mean,
'cause it's bullshit.
even if we develop quantum gravity and show that it proves that time travel is possible with, you know, for example, using, say, closed time-like curves, proving that travel in the past is possible. Even then, it couldn't support what the implication that she's having here. It's just like, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work that way, and it's just, yeah. I mean, I tell you, if I was going to go and record a TikTok video about time being linear, I would do a little bit of research first and just see, what are the scientists really saying about this before I recorded it and put it out there.
Well, I have another observation. Anybody that makes a video in their bathroom or in their car, don't believe a fucking thing that they're saying. How about
Well,
that?
there's that one guy I like, but yeah, generally it's a good,
You know,
generally that's true based on what we see all the time.
That's right. Steve's mic needs some isolation from the
yeah,
table.
I know. Somebody was telling me about that. I put a low cut on it. I was just going to increase it.
Yeah.
I think when you bump the table, it just like.
Can you hear this?
Yes. Well, yours is better because I had it more.
All right,
more
so
higher. Anyway, we did it.
I love how your body is going through time at different rates depending on where whether it's your head or your feet. Different rates. It's just fascinating, but it doesn't matter.
Would it matter if you were on that planet close to the black hole from that movie?
Yeah.
Well, I think where they were in terms of what the tidal forces
Yeah.
on, you'd be probably okay if it was a planet in orbit around the black hole. It all depends on how close you are.
Interstellar. Remember the movie
Yeah, yeah.
Interstellar?
Yeah.
Where he goes forward in time.
Oh yeah, like
decades in
one
minutes.
day. Yeah, one day on.
That's freaky. I would never
Yeah.
want to be in a situation like that.
Oh man.
Imagine being on that ship.
Well, if I were at the getting a little bit closer to the end of my life, would you spend the last year of your existence or 2 years of your existence like just experiencing time forward?
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, why not?
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, because there would be the hope that there's technology that could save
Well, even
you.
without that, it's just that I'll spend the last year on one long trip through time.
I wouldn't do that, and I have a very specific reason.
Why?
Because I want to be with my wife.
But
I wouldn't want to not be with her.
What if she would go with you?
Well, we wouldn't. We wouldn't leave our kids, even if they were
Yeah,
adults.
but what if you don't like your kids at that point?
I'm just telling you the circumstance I'm in. I want every second I can
I'd do
get
it,
with
Steve.
my wife.
That'd be cool. I'd go to to the end of the universe.
Yeah, why not?
Right before the
restaurant
black
at the
hole
end of the
radiates
universe?
The
away.
restaurant, I hear you. I hear they have really good Caesar
Yeah,
salad.
yeah.
I've always wanted to try it.
What was this from somebody? Oh, hold on. TikTok is yelling at me. Hold on, TikTok.
They
I'm
hate
sorry.
TikTok. Hates you, Ian.
They just don't want me to not click on it at all times. I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah,
Somebody said, I don't know why there isn't 3 Star Trek captain's chairs in a semicircle. I know.
Ooh.
Hey,
That's a good idea.
Did
like
Disney
this.
buy Star Trek? I read something. I don't trust anything I read
Right,
at
that's
all.
the next
right?
generation.
Right.
Did they buy it? I read it on freaking line.
Disney bought Star Trek?
That's what I read. I don't know if it's true. I'm just asking people. I didn't have time
It's a
to look it up.
vicious rumor that could be true. I
Vicious
don't know.
Bought Star Wars. And then somebody was saying that they were talking about a Star Trek theme park. I was like, my science fiction beaner was happening. All right, can we eat bread?
All right, fine. It is
Bread.
Will It Bread time.
We need music for this.
You need music?
Yes.
I got the perfect
Here it
thing.
is.
Did you improve the font, or is that the same font?
I think I improved it. There you go. Perfect song. Here we go.
Hey!
Bread.
Paramount was sold to what? Don't leave me hanging. Who owns Paramount? So this is actual bread this time.
Oh, whoa, Ian, this is dope.
Where'd you buy it? You made that?
This is sesame seed?
Smells great. Very good, Ian.
Let's check this
What's
out.
what's the white stuff?
Hold on, let me stop the music. 'Cause it's-
Yeah, please.
Yeah!
Okay, sorry about that, everybody. I had to do it. Okay, so we're taking a trip to Japan.
Yes!
With Japanese milk
Are we?
bread, or shokupan, eventually, hopefully. So now I also made a stabilized whipped cream, so that means it's whipped cream with gelatin in it. And then it's
Well, first let me try it.
and it's got
raw.
strawberries too in that baggie. Traditionally, you do a sando, little strawberries and something like that.
Nice.
And it's got a little egg wash and a little butter on top.
Good bake.
Yeah, so I got a Pullman lid loaf pan, if anybody's familiar with that.
Low pan?
Not loaf. Pullman.
That's a character
lid,
from that.
Yep.
Lidded loaf pan or something like that. Oh, let me see.
Big Trouble in
See if I can
Little
spell.
China?
Yeah, big trouble in Little China. I'll do a little whip. This is what the pan looks like.
Val Kilmer was not in that movie, by the way.
Mm-hmm. You slide it in, bada bing, bada boom. So there you
Nice.
go. So there's that. So yeah, milk bread, it's milk, and then you do a little, I think tangzao or something like that they called it. You cook the milk with the flour with a little water, so that heats it up, and you make a paste, and you let that sit for a little bit. Then you bloom the yeast, and then you do kind of, milk, flour. You can use bread flour, but I used AP flour. And then butter. You mix all that stuff together, let it rise for a couple hours. Then you got to roll it out. Put it in the pan, greased up, let that rise for an hour or so. Put the lid on, put it in the oven, boom. And so there is the cream and the strawberries, which you could, if you like. Otherwise, the bread by itself is pretty good. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I hope this segment never gets leavened behind. Okay, that's it. We're never doing it again. But yeah, so
I made
go ahead.
I made 6 loaves of bread on Saturday. It was the most bread I made at once, and it wasn't hard.
Yeah. What kind of bread? Because you're supposed to be making. Oh, I forgot the.
I'm gonna.
music.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll try to do it next week. What I'll have to do is bake it the night before because I can't do it in the morning.
Is the bread moist? They said
moist.
Somebody moist. You got that moist bread.
Mayo, huh?
Let's see.
That's not mayo.
Shokupan. No, it's
mayo.
cream. It's cream.
It's whipped cream.
It's whipped cream. It's stabilized. I put gelatin in it, so it's just it
You
actually.
said mayo, man.
Yeah. And then you put strawberries on that if you want.
Is this the same?
As a sando. Yeah, that one just doesn't have sesame seeds in it. It's basically the same.
Ian, you really have baking skills.
I was like, this one I was surprised at. I was like, okay, that's actually pretty good. The last week's was not good, but that's fine.
Oh, I liked last week's.
Well, it was just I didn't
wasn't fluffy
rise enough. Yeah, I need to figure out that. The semolina flour gave me some I was like, what?
I think so far I like that.
Yeah, let's look at the thing now. Let me stop the bread music. Okay, so let's look at the tier list we have. So this is Shokupan is the next one.
Yep.
So what do you guys collectively think?
I'd give it a B.
B?
No, I give it an A.
A?
Well executed.
Well executed. Bob, what do you think of the bread in general?
So wait, I want to clarify.
Go ahead.
I'm not rating. I mean, everything that you did. I mean,
Oops.
I can, because I'm a baker, I can tell. Like your baking skills are excellent. The bread, as much as I enjoyed eating this right here,
Yeah.
in the scheme of desserts and bread and all that stuff,
Sure.
this wouldn't be like anything I would deliberately go to. It's it's not that flavorful.
Perfectly crumbulent.
No, we're trying Japanese bread. This is what the bread tastes like. You know what I mean? But isn't this scale
Ben.
like how much did we love it personally?
Yeah, whatever you want. Like it's not the best execution of said bread. It's just like what I made. So whatever you're feeling in the moment compared to the other ones.
Yeah,
It's all
so Steve,
relative.
You think that this is as good as the unbelievable thing that happened? Let's see the
With
picture
the
again.
scones? Oh,
I mean, I loved your scones. but
brown-
that brown bread was the best thing.
that
you
was
made
S
so far.
tier. So that was a tier above A.
Yeah.
So the scones, so it's on par. The question is it on par with the scones and the Niedish tarts?
No.
Or is it better or the same as the bread from last week? Or maybe this bread needs to go down.
Well, I don't know. I like the bread from last week more than this.
Oh, interesting.
But this was fine. But I happen to know that this bread is, it typically isn't like that flavorful. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah, you
what-
put stuff in
it's
it
what you
to
put on
make
it, yeah.
it flavored, but it is just. Am I the only? Yeah, milk the pans. Wait,
So
what
it's
did you-
accomplishing its task.
Like if we had bread
We have
from
somebody
Tuscany,
from Japan, so
you guys would hate it.
does
it
it
sucks.
look-
It's flavorless?
Does it look like Japanese milk bread?
It looks like white bread.
Bunnies? It's like
And how flavorful should this be?
there's not a lot to it. It's like a little bit of sugar, a little bit of salt,
Yeah,
milk, and yeast.
Well,
So
I mean,
it's
look, you
really
could
not
make
a lot.
devastatingly delicious bread with 4 ingredients. You don't
That's
need.
true.
But again, this is like this is more of like a white bread. It isn't high in flavor, and I don't think it's supposed to be. Right? What's the person?
Jay, you're really harshing on this bread.
I'm not gonna bullshit him. Ian and I work together. I have to be honest with him.
Close. It's more compacted and has a tight crust. So yeah, I mean, I put an egg wash on top,
But-
butter on top afterwards.
How flavorful should the bread by itself be? Is it supposed to be kind of bland?
Yeah, is it kind of because you're supposed to put like an egg sando, which is like an egg salad sandwich, sort of. Not really, but like similar in those types of breads, or a strawberry cream
This one?
sandwich. Shokupan burgers are awesome. Oh, so yeah, you could put this
cut that
and then a burger in between.
Oh wait, I could totally see how this would work with a burger.
Sure.
Yeah, like a
burger?
bun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so if it's like a bun style thing.
Yeah, that's
Somebody said it should taste rather milk toast. Okay, bro, with the puns. Milk bread should taste milk.
you know where the
toast.
term milk toast comes from?
No, what?
No.
comes from a cartoon, like from the 1920s or something. It was a character.
Oh, milk toast.
The guy's name was Milk Toast, and he was very sheepish.
Plain.
You know.
That's pretty funny. It's funny how that just
Yeah.
arises as a real word.
Sharon, I'm going to go to King Arthur,
You failed, Jay. You need to apologize.
and I'm going to take some bread classes up there. Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yep. I'm
Oh,
doing
they have
it.
a chocolate version of the bread. I'm sure that would like hit it out of the park.
That would be very different.
That would be, yeah, that would be.
That's a whole different paint job.
Ian, I'm not harshing on your
No,
stuff.
I'm not feeling bad about it. I'm just saying,
It is what it is. I mean, we're just we're rating how
But,
much.
I
we
agree
enjoy.
with you, Jay. Sometimes bread is meant to be delicious in and of itself.
Of course.
Sometimes it is just a conduit for eating other things.
Absolutely.
And it's supposed to be
Yeah,
understated.
and I think that this bread is supposed to just be kind of plain. It's not supposed to be
Yeah.
packed with flavor.
But so are we judging it for what it is, or just
or for what its use is, or that's
I
how
can't,
does it taste?
I couldn't compare it to what it's really supposed to be like, because I've never had it.
We can make another level and say like it's bread. Like,
it's not supposed? You're judging it for what it's not supposed to be in the first place, anyway.
No. What I'm saying is
It's like the
I don't have anything to
Florentine-
compare it to, right? Because I've never had this bread before. I can't say, oh my God, this is really it. You know, you did a great job. Like this could be brilliant as far as
So
how
we're
close
not judging it based on authenticity, because that's not. We don't have the background.
Correct.
knowledge.
I can
Yeah.
judge it
not until
on.
we go to Japan.
You know, if it's I'm
Right.
just judging it on what it is, how is it on my palate, and all that stuff. Like this.
Clearly, we need to go to Japan and test the real.
Yes.
thing.
I
All right.
agree.
Let's do that.
So make sure you become
All
a
right, Steve
patron
said
at
it. We're going to Japan.
patreon.com/skeptics guide. We do have a goal.
Oh, we're going to
Eventually.
Japan sometime. I got to go to Japan so I could buy a katana.
And I have to go to Japan to go to Disney Tokyo.
You don't think they're going to outlaw katanas here too, like they did the UK?
They outlawed them.
I think they outlawed
We got to order a bunch
samurai
of
swords in the
What do you
UK.
mean they outlawed them?
Right, chat. Tell me if I'm correct. Didn't the Keir Starmer like outlaw something? There was something on
Like
the
you
internet
can't own.
about
You can't
you
own.
can't
a
own
katana.
a sword
Ian,
because of
put-
knife crime.
Ian, put
something.
Steve's comment up here, please.
What was it? My milk toast brings all the loaves to the yard.
That is brilliant, dude.
Oh boy.
Oh God.
I might have been bamboozled by the internet. Anyway, okay, so we're sticking with B for bread.
The thing is,
Give me the list again.
So it's the brown bread, the Irish brown bread that we all said S tier. Then there was the Neenish tart. There was the scones. There was the semolina bread at B. And there was the, let me switch it so you can see it. And then the,
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean,
Close
look,
enough.
I've judged all this stuff by how much I enjoyed sitting here and eating it, and I would put this in the C, because there's a spectrum, right? These are all different
Yeah.
types of things from different parts of the world. We're not going to like all of it.
I think we need two rating systems: personal enjoyment and quality of the bake.
okay.
Right? That would be more ideal.
I think you're making it too complicated.
Yeah, I'm just saying that that
this
would
is-
address our concerns.
But I don't know the quality of the bake because I don't know what it's supposed to be like.
But you know what bread's
Well,
supposed to be like?
The quality of this instance.
You just
got to
roll with that then.
Yeah, not to the.
I don't think the
authenticity.
audience
But you
gives a
can
shit.
look. But you can look at the bake.
They don't care at this point. They're like, they're eating bread. All right, I'll post the recipe in the Discord if you want the recipe, and you,
can
make
bet
it
a
along.
lot about the bake, regardless.
I'll try them. And so next week, I don't know. Next week, Jay, do you want to make your bread or do you want me to make something?
Yeah, I mean,
depending on what
I
your
will. Let's talk on
availability?
Monday.
Okay.
What I'll have to
Feared
do
and loathed.
is I'll have to make it Tuesday night.
Feared and loathing.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday night. Yeah. Well, clearly.
Let me know.
At
because
least. No, you'd have to make it more. Don't you need a day for the starter or something like that?
No, meaning like I'll bake it Tuesday night and bring it Wednesday, and I'll still have to do my thing to reconstitute it because it's.
Here we go. Look, UK sword law is a bit complicated. The Tories outlawed curved swords, but there are exceptions for genuine historic swords and for certain martial arts practitioners.
Okay, so if we say that we're learning Bushido and all that stuff, then
How
we
about
can
for
have our sword.
collectors?
Yeah, I wonder. But also, this is the
How would
UK,
you
so who cares?
outlaw curved swords?
I don't know.
So are they saying a katana is more deadly than a medieval longsword?
yeah.
Probably.
Hey guys, let me
That's
know.
Easier to move
debatable.
I
around.
got a bread recipe.
Oh.
I want to bring in a bread
Yeah, do
recipe
it.
as well.
Do you have
Whichever
the
week
skill
you
to
wanna
make
do
that
it.
bread recipe?
Yes.
What is it?
Focaccia.
Focaccia. Oh, I love.
Focaccia?
Yeah, I
Liz's
was making a
focaccia.
focaccia
Yeah.
too. Yeah,
That's-
do that. I
that's
want to do
it's
that
good.
too.
Good shit
very
right
good.
there.
I need some.
I make pretty mean cornbread.
Ooh,
Put
cornbread.
it on the list. Cornbread.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Right?
Cornbread
Anybody?
is
Chat?
awesome.
Chris Rock. All right, fine.
Nothing like a good cornbread.
All right,
man.
let's watch maybe one of these. So there was another Surrounded video. You remember the Surrounded from last time? We're watching with Sam Cedar versus Republicans. Now it's Mike. I forget his last name. It's something Ukrainian, I think. No, it's Jay. It's Dr. Mike. He's well known as, not Dr. Mike Israel is the other Dr. Mike. Anyway, he's talking to anti-vaxxers. So he did the same kind of roundtable. And so this one there was a lot of like silly, arguments that they were throwing around, some of which seemed like they didn't even know their own arguments. It was just conspiracy. But this was an interesting one, maybe from a skeptical point of view, like, is there anything I can actually do to convince you? So let's see what he had to say.
RFK Jr. is a public health threat.
So how is it that vaccine skeptics are the villains when some of the top doctors, some of the doctors that help create PCR tests, some of the doctors that have worked on vaccines have came out and said they're unsafe and we should not give this to our family and friends? How is it that he's a villain? How are we a villain if some of these vaccine creators and scientists are the ones saying we should not get it?
Is there anything I could say today that would change your mind?
I'm just asking your opinion.
I'm asking you a question.
Probably not, because I actually read and study.
Well, if I can't change your mind,
I just want to know your opinion.
Yeah, so I would like to give you my knowledge, my experience, and what I've seen in the hospital system. But if you're telling me right now, no matter what I say, you're not going to change your mind, is there any value to that?
Well, I like to study everybody's opinion. I don't like to just say, I believe this, and not further investigate everybody else's opinion.
So, I mean, she goes on and on. This is a short clip that Dr. Mike posted about that. So, I mean, there no...
my approach
point?
with her would have been... Well, first of all, sure. There are always.
But is it true? I mean, that's always your first question. Like, who is she talking about? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but even if she can list 12 doctors that say that, that's irrelevant because
it's not the consensus of the scientific community.
The vast majority of doctors that are based on medicine, that have gotten a degree, that. And then, if you talk to people in the field, they're going to tell you that statistically, vaccines are the single most effective medical intervention by orders of magnitude over everything else. I mean, we have over 50 years of evidence showing that vaccines are extraordinarily effective at preventing disease and lowering symptoms. So what? There's a handful of people online that dissent and don't agree. That's meaningless. It doesn't mean anything with those people because we don't listen to 1, 2, 3, or 5 doctors. We got to listen to the experts in the field, and we've got to listen to what the general consensus is throughout all these doctors who administer vaccines to millions of patients. I mean, that's the data that matters.
Right, but also the historical evidence that is undeniable. I don't care what anybody says. You look at the evidence alone, the historical evidence, that's all you need. You don't even really need anyone's opinion. It's so self-evident.
I know, but this woman's position to me is the ultimate in frustration for a critical thinker.
Well, she basically, I read conspiracy theories online, so I know what the answer is.
Yeah, and he said it. He called her out on it, which I don't even think she was aware, really, of what he was getting at. The point is, like, if your mind is unchangeable, regardless of what is presented to you, then you are in an echo chamber, and you have gone down a rabbit hole.
Scientific.
Because, the ultimate position as a critical thinker is to have your position to be able to change on a freaking dime if the right information is put in front of you, right? Now,
and
of course,
to be able to articulate what that would be.
Yeah.
You should be able to articulate that. And I disagree with him, though. Sure, he probably is not going to convince her at all, but there is value, especially for somebody who's going to upload the video to TikTok, and you can sway people very well by doing that. So there in that specific scenario, it would be worth it for him to try to...
It's not about convincing those 20 people.
Of course not. Of course not. But these are the microtransactions that we have with people. This is what our experience is. It's very difficult to convince someone like that, the woman, that millions of doctors are 100% sure that vaccines are the absolute most effective medical intervention of all time, and probably will never be beat by anything that that's going to happen in the next 50 years, right?
Well, I think one of the points that came up in the video was that now that RFK is appointed as the head of HHS, he is now the de facto leading expert, is what they all say. So it's like, shouldn't we listen to the leading expert? But it's like, wow. I don't think that's how it works.
Leading expert. Oh my God.
But he is obviously in a position of great authority.
Don't get me started on this guy. This is the thing that blows my mind. Again, science illiterate people making decisions about what they think about science, and they've educated themselves and done their fucking research. All of that is absolute, utter fucking nonsense.
Which I guess we could bring this up as the whole David Geyer, I don't know how you pronounce his last name, Geyer, hired to study vaccines and autism. So they are filling in new roles of further and further cranks, right?
Yeah. So that's an absolute travesty. So essentially, and there was actually a good editorial too on this, on I think one of either WAPO or New York Times, by a physician saying, pointing out, like as I did, that there's only a couple of reasons why you would do a study today on vaccines and autism, because it's been pretty well established that there is no connection between any vaccine ingredient, and risk of autism.
That dead horse has been beaten thoroughly.
That dead horse has been pulverized, but there's no reason not to look at more data if you have it, right? So there was a recent study in one of the Scandinavian countries, I forget which one, that looked at, because they have a database, because they have a national healthcare service and they keep a national health database. And so somebody published a study a couple of years ago looking at the MMR vaccine and autism diagnoses and seeing if there's any possible correlation, more likely to get the diagnosis clustering after the vaccine or just in the vaccinated versus unvaccinated, blah, blah, blah. Zero. There was just zero correlation no matter how you looked at it. So fine. So they published that data. That's fine. But in the U.S., you have to ask the question, is there any opportunity to look at data that we should just do, or is there any reason to do like a study that's better than the studies that we already have out there? And the answer is no. So if RFK Jr.'s position is like, well, there's still some vaccine skeptics out there, we need to bolster the consensus, it's like, so then you hire the worst possible person in the universe to do that study, right? By hiring Geer, who's not a scientist, has no credentials, has no experience doing this, has a history of research that is so poor quality, it's like absolute and utter nonsense. By hiring him, you're first of all guaranteeing an outcome, and you're guaranteeing that nobody will take it seriously. Guaranteeing it out of the gate, like it's already failed. Like there's absolutely zero reason to do that.
Oh, but Steve, the science illiterate will hear it, and
that's the point. It's only the only utility is just to provide more fodder for vaccine deniers, for anti-vaxxers. That's it. It's a total, hit job. But that's what you get when you put somebody who is completely intellectually dishonest, like RFK Jr., in charge of HHS.
So, Steve, can you give us a kind of gut feeling on what you think will happen over the next few years? Like, he's going to do as much damage to the credibility of vaccines as possible. And are we going to see the measles come back?
Yeah, it already's happening.
Yeah, Texas, I think.
It's already happening.
At least one.
We'll see. We'll see. So it's hollowing out the NIH, hollowing out, the CDC. There's going to be a tremendous loss of institutional knowledge that would take generations to get back. This is American Lysenkoism. This is what's happening. It is going to harm, what was until now the greatest biomedical research institution in the world, and it's going to destroy it.
Yep.
And yes, we'll build it back at some point, but the damage is going to be generational. And it's going to be impossible to measure because there's so much downstream harm.
But what about
happen.
like in 4 years if Trump doesn't go for his third goddamn term? Oh my God! Just take
which is not going to happen.
Quick palate cleanse, asshole. So let's say that a rational person gets elected. Couldn't they just build it back up and rehire all those people?
Well, no,
But they got other jobs probably.
First of all,
in the following 3 years.
You think they're waiting around?
No, but I mean,
a lot of them are they're first of all they're being actively recruited and they're taking jobs in Canada and Europe.
Yeah.
Right. So they're gone. They're not just going to come back. Why would you? And again, why would you do that when you know that in 2 or 4 years, it could be your job could go away again.
Yeah.
So some people are just going to retire.
Yep.
And also you have a lot of, it's like, you have a lot of plate spinning, right?
Yeah.
And then you just let them all crash to the ground. And no, you can't just spin them up again.
Yeah.
It's
a lot of entropy
so
there.
there's a lot of clinical trials that are going to go away. A lot of funding is going to go away. A lot of the infrastructure that builds to that funding. Research, and I don't even do this kind of research, but I've been working at Yale for the last 30 years. I have a lot of colleagues who do this kind of research. When you're primarily research oriented, right? You usually have like your 80% clinical, 20% research, or your 80% research, 20% clinical. For those people who are research, you're living grant to grant, and you're constantly trying to maintain a lab and all the people that work in that lab and all of your experiments, and you're keeping the funding going, and that is a dynamic, constant thing that you're doing. If it goes away, you can't just reboot it on a dime. Because now the lab isn't up and running. You don't have the graduate students. You don't have the people in place. You don't have the infrastructure. You may have got, your colleagues have gotten jobs in other institutions. The institution doesn't have the infrastructure anymore. You hollow that out, and it will take a generation to build it back.
Yeah.
It is not something you can just flip like flipping a switch. And that's the guaranteed at this point. That's the kind of damage that's going to be done to American biomedical research. It's already happening. It's almost already too late.
well, I mean,
In the short term, what we're going to see is the botching of epidemics and outbreaks and pandemics. So that's just a roll of the dice. We'll see what happens. But we're already, seeing a measles outbreak. And we'll see what happens, and then depending on how bad it is, we'll see what kind of public backlash there is.
So I want to say something before Bob and I leave.
Yeah.
To those critical thinkers out there. So I've been trying to get, people who voted for Trump on Facebook to basically, respond to the idea of how can you be okay with what he's doing. And I just want to share one piece of information with you guys. I had this is someone that I've been on and off Facebook trying to have discussions, but, it turns into more of a
shit show.
A shit show. But anyway, this one person that I've known a long time. This is where it's at. He absolutely agrees with what Trump is doing and specifically said that we should take over Greenland. Specifically said, yes, we should take over Greenland. Yes, they will follow this guy into any abyss that he goes into. And I want you to realize that we're never going to pull any of those people back or out of where they are. The only people that matter as from an audience perspective are people who voted who really weren't paying attention.
The persuadable, either swing voter or the low information voter who could be affected by information.
The thing I want
the Trump cult, they're gone.
Yeah, don't let them bother you, because let me put it to you like this.
Some of them will fall off.
What they think absolutely doesn't matter anymore. They are part of the whole thing. They're a part of it. It's like Trump. You're never going to dissuade Trump from being Trump. You're never going to pull these people away from him. They are just all part of what's going on. And we don't have to even think or worry about them anymore. We need to talk to the people who are reachable.
Right. How much of the electorate, though, is unreachable?
I'd say 20%.
Yeah, something like 25.
Yeah, I mean, look, we can, we need to survive the next 3.8 years, and we need to build back and reclaim what's going on. It's going to be a lot worse than it is now, and it could be even horrific. But the point is, they do think that, they agree, they will agree, and they are willing to compromise everything to follow the leader, which they're so desperate to do. and they got a lot riding on it because most of them pushed really hard. They wanted this guy to be president so badly. I don't know what it would take to turn a real, MAGA initiated person to reverse. This is one of my 300 spam calls I get every day.
Trump's
I
calling.
don't know what it would take, but I'll tell you, it's never going to happen with something I do. So bottom line is, talk to the people, or when you're arguing with someone online, be aware of the fact that there's a lot of people reading and that aren't that person, that are persuadable. And that's why you have to be the adult in the room.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it is. That's my strategy. I say it like it is. I give the facts. If the person, it is personally offensive or is creating a straw man, I will point all that out. But I try to stay as calm as I can, realizing that there's on my Facebook, there's probably hundreds of people, if not a lot more, that are reading what's going on, and they're benefiting from the information, that I'm putting up there.
Yeah.
And in the end, this is going to be really freaking hard, but we have to keep our head above water and keep pushing forward. I mean, there's going to be pushback. We are going to see a lot of people there's going to be a lot of people that are going to die from disease.
Mm-hmm.
When it becomes difficult for people to get vaccines, we're going to have big problems.
Can we hoard those? Does Costco have a bundle of vaccines?
And I think that there's going to be pushback. I mean, in 2 years, I think when the Senate seats go up, I think people are going to have been pretty much had enough by then.
Well, you saw what happened in Wisconsin, right? Like high propensity voters obviously came out. It wasn't like the low propensity voters that only voted for Trump didn't even vote for anybody else down ballot. Like it just were like Trump and go home.
Yep.
So clearly there are people who are upset to even push.
Yeah,
that.
that's very encouraging.
Even with Musk's money, which apparently somebody in chat said that Musk is being hinted at being pushed like away because of his not kingmaker status anymore. Trump privately indicates Elon Musk could step back from current roles.
Why? Because of Tesla?
No, because he didn't win the
he went
Senate.
He went all in for this Supreme Court
seat in Wisconsin.
He went all in.
Could you imagine Trump washing his hands of Musk? Could you imagine
going to
the
happen.
freaking irony? This guy has
Jay, that 100% that's going to happen.
Oh my God!
For no other reason, Musk is the fall guy.
Yeah, totally.
At some point, something big will go bad, and he'll blame Musk, and he'll become loose.
And then what happens to Musk? This is where evil, this is where
and he goes
super villains are created, guys.
Maybe he'll start actually playing Path of
He's
Exile.
got the freaking money and he's got crazy technology.
He'll go to his mountain lair.
All he needs,
he'll buy a furry cat.
All he needs is a misshapen haircut, right? Some type of uneven
He'll get
haircut.
a bad haircut.
Yeah.
Did you see him with the cheese hat?
Yeah.
Bouncing around on the stage, just like it was embarrassing. You know, it was.
I know.
Pathetic.
He's such a dork. It's funny anybody
Jay,
falls for him.
it is likely that he will be marginalized because one of the main reasons I think why they were even keeping him is the fact that he could throw millions for these elections.
Yeah.
And now he just showed that when he goes all in, I mean, giving $1 million checks and financing, $20 million, and it still didn't help.
Yeah.
That's like he just lost a lot of what made him helpful to these people.
His oligarchy.
Well, we'll see. They'll probably keep him around to spend a hell of a lot more money.
But of course, don't discount that. As a source of many millions of dollars, they're not going to
billions of dollars.
They're not going to fully break with him. Who knows? Who knows what the fuck's going to happen?
He's a Timu Bond
break
villain.
with
That's funny.
All right, guys.
All right, I think that's it.
Have a great day.
All right.
Steve's going to entertain you.
Yeah, we're going to do some tickety talks now. That's what we're going on to. Will it burn? No, will it bread? Turn off the oven. I turned off the oven, I think.
Rob, can you grab that
we'll
bread?
go look when we get back up.
Yeah,
you guys leave.
The worst, though, is that stain we should probably try to hit.
Can you get a paper towel, Bob?
Leave some of the bread for Steve, and then maybe
wet
you
it.
could take one of them if you want, whatever.
Yeah, leave some for tonight.
So
And for Jocelyn. You need a little vacuum. What is the deal with the title? It's April 2nd, so it was an April Fool. Yesterday was April Fool. Whatever. Okay. Don't be sad. Yeah, okay, we're going to vacuum real quick, chat. I'm going to play some music.
Ready?
Yep.
we're getting set up for.
Yeah, Steve was saying the one downside of Willet bread.
It's very crummy.
It's very crummy. Bring back the 80s. You want the 80s?
Is that wet?
Bum, bum, bum.
Here, give me one of those.
I know, I almost got you. I almost got you with my joke. This show
There we
suddenly
go. That
sucks.
won't show up on camera.
Yeah. They said the show sucks, Jay. How dare you?
Watch Jay suck on the SGU.
Yeah, he's sucking. Okay, thank you. No. I didn't take offense. Well, that's just chat. Oh, are you talking about these two? Yeah, they're so mean. No, I know. You're gonna make bread next week. Oh, also somebody, I think Andrea wants to give us I think it's Andreas, maybe, I can't remember. Wants to give us 100-year-old sourdough starter.
Yes,
from
I'll
France.
take it.
So we want that. So I'm gonna respond to you. I'll give you an address to send it to us. It's from France. We come from France. Andrea, yeah, 100-year-old starter. So we say yes to you, but I'll respond to you directly. Make America bread again. If only. Okay, so we did that one. We got let's not do this Dr. Mike one. Should we do the sea?
Yeah, the Black Sea.
Yeah, straight of Bosphorus.
Bosphorus.
All right.
It's not Bosphorus. It's Bosphorus. The Strait of Bosphorus in Istanbul, Turkey.
Oh, by the way, we said Budapest, but it was Bucharest last week. For
it wasn't Budapest?
Hungary. No,
it was Bucharest?
Yeah, it wasn't Budapest.
It was Bucharest.
It was Bucharest.
All right, so note that, everyone.
Hungary. So our Hungarian listeners were mad at me. I'm sorry. Okay. I mean, the building doesn't exist anyway. It's all put there by aliens, and it's AI.
Yeah.
But still, just to keep them.
Yeah,
on
people
our good
couldn't
side.
build a building, Ian. I mean,
Buildings.
It was big. It was really big.
It's the heaviest building. Big.
It was the third largest building in the world.
I mean, yeah, the other two are also fake.
They must also be fake.
Yeah. All right, let's do this. We got that going. Everybody can see it. Everybody's good. All right, let me full screen this guy so we can see him in all his glory. All right, stand by, chatters.
The table doesn't even show up in the TikTok, so could always clean it
Back
later.
in 1999, there's a guy by the name of Dr. Robert Ballard. He's known as like the underwater. He's an underwater archaeologist. He found the Titanic. He found the Bismarck. He found the USS Yorktown. He's very famous. He's kind of seen as like the underwater Indiana Jones. And he took a submersible because he went with a theory that came out of the Ivy Leagues that said, we think that there was a flood that was so significant that it overwhelmed the Black Sea and turned the Black Sea from freshwater, being an isolated lake, to where the seas rose and inundated it with all of its salt water. So the Mediterranean flooded into the Black Sea and turned the Black Sea saltwater. So he sent Hercules, his underwater submersible, to go down on the floor of the Black Sea. And in 1999, listen to this, he discovered a shoreline that was 550 feet underwater. Okay. And all of the fossils that dated 7,000 years or older were all freshwater. They were all freshwater species. All of the species and fossils that came after that were salt. And as they're looking around 311 feet below sea level, you find the wattle and daub structure, the corners of buildings. You find tools, ceramic, stone tools of a hammer and an axe. And so here you see evidence.
That picture, should I bring that picture up?
Yeah.
Okay, let me bring that picture up real quick. Or you could call it out and I'll bring it up.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll just talk and you bring it up when you want to.
Okay.
Yeah, so part of what this guy's saying is true. It is, although this was known in the 1980s and 1990s, it wasn't discovered in 1999. The Black Sea used to be a completely enclosed interior lake. If you look at a map of the Black Sea, you could see that there is this land bridge that cuts it off from the Mediterranean. Today, there is a little water connection, the Strait of Bosphorus in Istanbul, Turkey. That is the only water connection between the Mediterranean and the Black Sea. But 7,000 years ago, or up to 7,000 years ago, that was a complete land bridge. And so the Black lake, I guess at that point, was much lower, and it was fresh water. And then that land bridge broke through, the strait was created. Once water starts flowing, then it erodes away and created the Strait of Bosphorus. And so now salt water from the Mediterranean poured into and filled in, the basin that now makes the Black Sea and continues to circulate water. I think it takes over 2,000 years for the water to completely circulate. But what happened then is that the freshwater body of water, the freshwater lake there, became mostly salt water, and the upper layers of water are more brackish. The deeper layers of water have a higher salinity. That's just the way it works. Salt water tends to be heavier. And so deep down, there's not much oxygen. There aren't many organisms down there. And so things are well preserved, which is why this guy wanted to go down there and take a look, see if there was like ships and stuff down there, because bacteria that would erode things like wood can't live down there. And indeed, you could see that, 7,000 years ago or earlier, there are freshwater species. Above that, there are saltwater species. That's what happened. There's not really much of a mystery here. And no, it's not evidence of some giant flood. Like, the flood is not the right term to use. This is not evidence of the biblical flood. The Mediterranean didn't slosh into the Black Sea. Whatever the implication there is, this is pretty well established that the Strait of Bosphorus opened up, water from the Mediterranean poured into the Black Sea, making it from a freshwater to a saltwater body. That's pretty much it. The science is there. You can read it. But I guess anything could be twisted into a narrative that supports whatever you want to believe if you're willing to just be loosey-goosey with the facts.
Alrighty, there we go. We got...
The guy was loosey-goosey.
Flood myth. Yeah, a little loosey in his goosey.
It was also Willie and Nilly.
That's Dr. Willie. Dr. Willie? Yeah, a little flood myth action for you. In case I said it wrong, Bucharest is in Romania. Budapest is in Hungary. I think I said that backwards. But it was Bucharest, Romania.
It was Romania. I know that.
Yes,
it was Romania.
right.
So it was Bucharest, Romania. And we said Budapest, but it was
Yeah,
Romania.
but anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Just to get that out so we don't get
blame you.
emails. Yeah, it was my fault. I merged the letter. The C and the H turned into a D in my brain. All right, so let's move into this other one. I think we only have these two, right? Like it was the Wi-Fi.
No, we're going to do the Wi-Fi one, and we're going to do, there was another one.
Let me just pull that up. Maybe I didn't pull it out. So there was, well, let's do this Wi-Fi one.
Okay, so the Wi-Fi one. Then we'll do a third one.
Stand by chat.
It's crazy to me that people believe in Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and invisible things powering our whole lives, but we think energy, vibration, and frequency, and all the things that come with it are still mystical nonsense. Why are we not caught up?
Might have something to do with the fact that it is mystical nonsense. So let me see if I'm following the logic here. We believe in invisible things, therefore all invisible things are real. I guess that's the logic I'm hearing there. So Bluetooth and Wi-Fi we know that they're real because I can surf the web on Wi-Fi and I can listen to music through my Bluetooth headphones. There's demonstrable evidence that they exist. We have instruments, right? We have instruments that could measure the strength, the power of radio waves, the frequency, we could modulate them. There's obviously an entire science and technology built around measuring, detecting, manipulating radio frequency waves for multiple purposes. There's good reason to think that that's real. In the last 100, 200 years, is there any evidence to support the notion that there are mysterious energies from the body or frequencies that influence our health? No, not a lick of evidence at all. No one has been able to say, here it is, this is the energy, this is the particle that carries the energy, this is how you measure it, this is an instrument that can detect it. Nothing. There's no science or technology to back up these claims. It is literally mystical nonsense. There are people who claim it to be true based upon mainly just superstition, and then that gets, they reword it to fit modern terminology. You start to talk about frequencies and energy, but it has been and it remains mystical nonsense until somebody can tell me what it is exactly. Here's how you detect it. Here's how you measure it. Here's how you can utilize it. It is just made up nonsense.
Okay, there we go. Frequencies. All right, little frequencies. All right, it was the flat earther, I think.
The flat earther, yes, because I want to talk about flat earthers.
This guy.
This fucking
We
guy.
don't want to, but we have to. If magic isn't real, explain David Blaine. Checkmate. Skeptics. Same thing.
David Blaine, actually, I have an anecdote about David Blaine because he came to Yale and was dealing with some of my colleagues, both neurologists and neurosurgeons, to do some of his magic tricks. I had this long conversation with one of my colleagues who was telling me what David Blaine was doing, and believed his bullshit. This is a Yale neurologist. I'm saying, dude, everything he's telling you is part of the magic trick.
Yeah.
There's one thing you could be absolutely sure of. However he says he's doing it, that's not how he's doing it.
Yeah.
Right, and he was describing magic tricks to me that I know how they're done. Right. I know how they're done because people like James Randi told me how they're done. I have plenty of magician friends in the skeptical movement, and who've talked to me about the typical stuff that people do to pretend to be psychic, or even about David Blaine because he was very popular for a while. I was like, yeah, the guy's very good at close-up magic, but they were not that impressed with him, and they were. They could easily, he uses a peek deck. He's flips the deck of cards, says, now think of a card. Was it the Jack of Hearts? And, I think this was actually, who told me about this one? It was Joe Nickel. It's dude, it's a peek deck, right? It's one card is slightly longer than the others, and so it lingers. So you can't, it's the only card your brain can process is the Jack of Hearts. So he knows what card you're going to walk away from seeing. That's it. But my neurologist colleague was convinced this guy's had really sensitive fingers and was able to do this incredible things. Nope, it's just a trick deck of cards.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And whatever else he said he's doing, he's not doing it the way he's telling you he's doing it. It's all really dumb. Because that's just the David Copperfield told us that the real magic is that nobody would ever imagine that you would spend that much time and effort figuring out something that stupid. That's the real essence of magic. But the illusion that you're doing something extraordinary, preternatural, whatever, that's the diversion. That's to keep you from realizing, no, it's something really stupid and simple that you just haven't thought about.
Yeah.
Anyway, since you bring up David Blaine, that's my David Blaine
anecdote. That's the David Blaine one. Stop putting shit. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that parody of David Blaine. Cheez-Its. If you guys have never seen that, go look it up after. Blaine. He's a demon. All right. Anyway, let's move on. Here we go.
Not to take away from his showmanship, he's a good magician.
No, obviously he's been doing it for that long for a reason. All right, here we go with this guy.
Do you not find it strange how we've literally got to contain the sea? Every sea line has a sea barrier. We have to contain the water so it doesn't flood our land. Now we think that we're living on a ball spinning 1,000 miles an hour around the vacuum of space, where gravity literally holds all of the water to its surface. Yet it doesn't stop a bumblebee flying round with no gravitational pull. So why do we have to contain the water? Because if the water was contained, it would stay sea level, and the horizon would always stay horizontal. Crazy that, isn't it, guys? Much love, stay true, and I'm as fictional as a dinosaur, baby.
You know, it's really hard to tell if flat earthers are serious or not, if they're a Poe, because there's no space to go. There's nothing more ridiculous than what flat earthers actually say and think. If you want to really plumb the depths of conspiracy nonsense that they get into, look at Professor Dave's recent video documenting the reaction to the Antarctic expedition. You know, they actually paid for, I think it was 4 flat earthers to go to Antarctica and look at the sun 24 hours, you know, being, this is in the middle of our winter, their summer. You know, the sun was above the horizon for 24 hours a day, pretty much disproving a flat earth and proving that we live on a globe earth. And the reaction to that is just absolutely astounding. There's no limit to their denial of just reality right in front of their face. So here, you know, again, this is not, if he is making fun of flat earthers, you can't tell because this is exactly as dumb as what the stuff that the flat earthers say. Apparently this guy's never been to the beach, you know, just assuming that he actually believes the stuff that he said. Not every bit of shoreline has walls on it. Those walls are not there to keep the ocean in. They're there to keep the shoreline from eroding. Shorelines are dynamic, but we like to build things next to the shore. And so we want to stabilize the shorelines. We will put a wall there. Also, perhaps this guy isn't aware of something called the tides, you know, where waters rise and fall. And some locations, those tides, when they come in, they would flood inland, and then the water goes away when the tide goes out. You could see this in parts of the shore where there aren't improvements like that. But then there are some locations where, again, we want to build stuff there or whatever. We don't want the tide to like flood inland every time there's a high tide, and so we build a retaining wall. You know, like we built a whole city below sea level in Louisiana, right, New Orleans, and we got to build a lot of walls there to keep the ocean out. That's not because we have to contain the ocean. It's because we want to build stuff where that would otherwise normally flood. You know, so the other thing, you know, I'm not even really sure what his point is about the horizon. You know, sometimes the flat earthers say like, the horizon looks flat. You can't see the curvature of the earth. But of course you can see the curvature of the earth. There's plenty of situations where there are bridges or other structures where you could see it going around. You know, the curve, it has to be big enough, because obviously the earth is big, so it has to be large enough for you to actually see the curvature, but you can see it. Absolutely. You could see ships disappearing, you know, over the horizon. So that's not a valid point as well. The bumblebee thing, I mean, does he think bumblebees levitate? What is that? What he thinks is happening? Bumblebees are flying with aerodynamics. They have to produce a downward force equal to the gravitational force. You know, in other words, to push them up to counteract the force of gravity trying to pull them down. Yeah, that's what flying is all about, right? We're not flying a plane. We're not levitating. There is something called aerodynamics. So, and you know, again, I've spoken to flat earthers about this. Apparently, they don't believe in gravity, which is absolutely amazing. You know, they think that, oh yeah, the Earth is accelerating at 1g through space, and that's why we feel the acceleration of gravity. Of course, we know that that's not happening for many reasons. But I guess, does that mean that the whole universe is accelerating at 1g because we're not moving through space at that rate? And if it is, what does that even mean? Why is the Earth flat when all the other planets are spherical? You know, again, you could go so far down this rabbit hole. You know, you'll lose your mind at some point. But what they don't have, what the flat earthers don't really have, they cannot have a coherent explanation of exactly what's going on. They just have their models, and then they just sort of wave away all the inconsistencies. They'll throw out terms like, oh, it's perspective or whatever, but they don't really have any kind of coherent model. It's like, oh, well, if the sun never really truly sets, how come if you watch the sun set on the horizon, you could see the sun disappearing below the horizon? At some point, there's like only half the sun is visible, etc. They don't really have an answer for that. They just say, oh, it's perspective. no, that's not how perspective works. You can't just throw terms like that out to explain away incontrovertible evidence that disproves what you're saying. Right? So anyway, this is a bottomless pit of nonsense, an absolute bottomless pit of nonsense. And they do, you know, if this guy's real, he's right in the sweet spot of flat earthers. If this is an April Fool's joke or he's making fun of flat earthers, he did it spot on. It's indistinguishable from the level of nonsense that they say. It's beyond satire. But there you have it, I guess.
All righty.
All right.
That. Flat Earth.
Flat Earth nonsense.
Nonsense.
But bees levitate.
I know. Scientists don't know how bees fly. It's like probably with their wings.
That was the thing for a long time. You
I
remember
know.
that?
I do
Scientists
remember that. That's
can't
what I'm saying.
explain how bumblebees fly, but they fly anyway. But the bumblebee doesn't know that. That was like people were saying, I was like, shut up.
Stupid bumblebee.
It's not profound. It was, you know, it was never true that we couldn't explain in general terms how bumblebees fly. It was more that there's something going on with the aerodynamics of bumblebees that we didn't explain all of the aerodynamics. There are, because there's weird shit going on with bumblebees, the way their wings move.
Yeah.
You know, it took time to sort out. It's like, oh, they're making these little eddy currents at the edge of their wings, and that's creating a downward force. It's very counterintuitive. It's very subtle. It's very complicated. That doesn't mean it's magic or that physics doesn't work or that there is no gravity or whatever. You know what I mean? Aerodynamics can be really complicated. Even something as simple as like explaining completely how bicycles stay up, you know what I mean, is really difficult. Like things that are sometimes physics gets really complicated when you're dealing with stuff like that.
A lot of little things happening at once.
Bikes don't work through magic. Doesn't mean it's magic.
One died trying to prove flat Earth, so it's likely like, oh, the guy who shot himself up in the steam-powered rocket.
Oh yeah, that one guy.
Yeah. He survived a couple times.
He
which
did,
is crazy.
but he kept going until
Unfortunately,
yeah.
that's you're rolling those dice. Anyway, so we have a few shows coming up, y'all. So Not a Con, May 16th, 2025. That's
It'll be a
happening
lot of fun.
soon. So get your tickets if you haven't. And also, there's an extravaganza in Lawrence, Kansas, on September 20th.
Kansas.
That's
September when?
September 20th.
September 20th in Kansas.
Arkansas or Arkansas. I don't know.
So we're gonna
Kansas.
we're gonna do a private show then too, right?
Yeah, we'll do a private show. We haven't scheduled that yet, but
keep an eye out for that.
Before. I think this is a Saturday. Let me click on it. I forget. Yeah, it's a Saturday. Remember?
Saturday night. So we usually do it Saturday morning.
Yeah,
like
Saturday morning,
noon or whatever. We do a private show.
Yeah, so we'll do a private show and an extravaganza. So come out if you're near that area.
Yeah,
if
if
you're in
there's
the
anything
Midwest
fun to do in Kansas, let us know.
That's true. Yeah, any bread
what
out there?
What city is it in?
Lawrence.
Lawrence,
I've never
Kansas.
really heard of Lawrence, but
yeah.
I don't know if there's
let
something.
us know.
Yeah, if there are any astronomical events
any
happening.
Kansans out there. What else can we do when we're in Kansas?
Is there cheese? Is cheese curds?
No.
Is that too northern Midwest? I think probably.
Isn't Kansas like all cornfields?
Eat that in Iowa, I think, right? Grand Conspiracy. I don't know. Anyway, you're a demon, David. That's exactly it. Yeah, you know they know. Matthew knows the video I'm talking about with David Blaine. All right, well, everybody, thanks for being here. I think that's it for today. We may see you on Friday. I know we haven't been doing a couple Fridays because Jay has been away or dealing with the children's. Cheese curds are Wisconsin. Okay, thank you. Squeaky cheese.
Hence Elon Musk's tri-cornered cheese hat.
Oh, right, of course. But Wisconsin lost to Connecticut when it came to cheese. That Gouda.
That's right.
So suck it.
That Gouda was
pretty good.
Was Gouda.
Was Gouda.
Yeah.
A lot of puns in the live stream chat after that day. Kansas is a lot of beef in the Lawrence area. Okay, well, so I'll be eating.
You can see some cows
nothing.
while we're there.
Not at all. Okay, wait. Anyway. All right, so yeah, we'll see you there. Maybe Friday. Next week, definitely. We'll see you again. And until next week, the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe or something. You know what I mean?
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Ian.
Bye-bye.